Good. Oh, yes. Okay. Good, good, good. Thank you for being here, everybody. Excited about today's meeting and welcome. I have 60 minutes. I sent all this stuff to one of our managers, Boise Hanson, the district manager you guys met in at the conference, and he saw the slides. He's like, dude, this is a 2 hour meeting. I'm like, I know, but I told everybody I was going to do it in an hour. So I really got to keep a good pace. I'm excited to give you guys the goods and really kind of unload on you in a positive way. And I hope you're ready. So my advice is pen and papers, pens and papers. Can I see that you have faces? First of all, I want to see faces. Terry, Brian, Ember, love to see your face as soon as possible. Kenzie and Robert want to see your face. But you're going to want to take notes, and we're going to dive right in. And it's a pleasure to have everybody here. Just to be clear, and then Patrick, why don't you make sure Shay or Saul, why don't you make sure Shay gets on as well? That'd be really important that she's here as well. And she knows that her people are here and want to get her here too. So what this meeting is, okay? And again, normally for the net until August 20, so 3 weeks from today, August 24th, key staff will change to 4 to 5 p.m. During the school year, we do key staff 4 to 5 p.m. But every week from now till the 24th, we will have key staff during this time slot, 12 to 1. And it's been 3 weeks since we had key staff because of the push, because of the conference, right? And all the sales competition. We moved the meeting in the morning so that people would just be here for the meeting and then go out and do their demos, or go do phoning and then do their demos. And so now that we're done with the SC2 push, key staff from noon to 1 is always going to be at this slot for essentially 2 more weeks after today. But then on the 24th, and if I'm misspeaking, I think it's 2 more weeks. And then on the 24th, it'll go 4 to 5 p.m. But we always run our intro to TLA, intro to Leadership Academy. And again, like I said at the conference this weekend, we always called this branch manager training. Okay. We always called this branch manager training. Okay. When I was a manager, up and coming manager. And it was like your branch manager in training. And in so being a branch manager in training, you actually become a leadership academy attendee or a leader in training or a manager in training. So you can write down MIT, not Massachusetts Institute of Technology, but manager in training, right? And that's what MIT means in the vector speak. And so there's that. And I want to make sure you guys understand that Leadership Academy, manager in training, or management training, or branch manager, or district manager training, it's all kind of the same thing, right? So that being said, I'll just make sure everyone understands we're introducing you, Ember, to a little more details about leadership and management. Some of you are already paid assistant managers. Some of you are obviously district managers, division office managers in training. And some of you, again, are paid assistant managers at a part or full-time level. And so some of you have never even touched management in our company, right? Which is fine. And that's why we're here. We're introducing you to the opportunities. So outcomes for today, to keep a good pace here, is to consider the impact that you've had in your life. I remember, just weeks into the job, how much I had learned. And then months later, I was like, wow, this is crazy, the type of money I'm making. And I almost didn't notice how much I was growing. You ever like see grandma and she's like, "You've grown up so much." I'm like, "I'm the same as I was 6 months ago," but you're not. But you don't notice the growth, do you? Right? Grandma knows it because she sees you, once every month or 6 months or whatever it is, where she lives or whatever. So for you to sit back and consider what type of impact you've had on yourself, and what type of opportunity and what type of impact the vector job has had on you. And then obviously to talk about what is leadership in our company, what is leadership, period, is kind of also the concept. And then what is the pay program, right? That's, some people want to know, what does my manager get paid, and stuff like that. And then obviously talking about position of choice. So write down position of choice for sure, being a very important part of your opportunity. And then, of course, lastly, giving you keys to how to train. Assuming you got invited here because you're someone that your manager feels like you should be here, right? We would love to work with you, right? Is basically what you're being applauded for by being invited to this meeting period today. So I want to say that the summer of 2026, it says has happened. Guys, we have so much time left this year. We have 28 months, and not this 28 months this year, 28 months, 28 days this month, right? There's still 28 days, 29 days counting today. There's 29 days left of the vector August, right? There's still 28 days left of the summer campaign. So for scholarship purposes, for all sorts of things that are left in this summer, you still have a lot of time. And so while we say it's happened, it hasn't happened. It's still 28 more days. But I will say what's happened so far has happened because of what you've contributed. Even if you're in this room and at least you've been in the business, three-ish weeks, some of you have been here three-ish months, some of you three-ish years. And summer 2027, next summer, will happen not because of who you are today. If you're going to be a leader in training, if you're going to be a manager of any type next summer, this is what this is what today's meeting is all about. We want to make sure that you become what you can become by next summer so that we can make huge things happen. So with your pen, with your note takers right now, take a second, write down what are maybe two, three things that you feel have really impacted your life this summer. Whether you've been working with your brother for 22 years, CJ Ganir, and now you've been working with your brother in the Cutco thing that he's been doing for 6 years, and you just started it. What has changed since you started as an assistant manager, CJ? Saul, you've been assistant manager longer than that. What's changed since then for you, and what's changed in your business? Ember, you started the job less than 3 months ago, so it's like, what has changed in those two-ish months? Chloe, three-ish months. What's been two or three takeaways that you could literally take away from this summer so far? I'm going to encourage Shay and Patrick. By the way, the whole division is not here today at this meeting because I'm doing a reprise of this event at 4 o'clock with the Southern Rockies team and the Southern Rockies district. And of course, there's maybe one or two people that from Salt Lake, Provo, or Salt Lake North that aren't here now that maybe could make the 4 o'clock slot today. So I get to give this meeting twice at the speed of I'm running out of oxygen while I'm talking. Okay, so there you go. The next three questions I'll ask you to jot down any answer or answers that you'd like to. Who did you become? What did you learn? How did you grow? Again, hopefully these are things that you're writing down that maybe you learned things that you're not as good at something that you thought you were good at. Sometimes people sell some, I don't say they get lucky, but because of the trust factor you have with mom or grandma, you sell some extra homemakers, and then you have a hard time figuring out that maybe you're not good at selling homemakers, but they trust you a little bit more than the average customer. So when you aren't with grandma or your mom, you have to actually learn how to be a good salesperson, right? Because that trust factor isn't there, right? And so the more you can, crush referrals and keep expanding your original list, that's how you get good at selling while people can still trust you, right? While they do still trust you. By the way, all of you could sell 30 grand to people that know you, just haven't done enough demos yet. But what have you learned? What have you become? How have you grown? I want to keep moving. I'm going to share some thoughts that I had, maybe that I had about what most of you might have taken away from this summer, right? One thing, and I shared some of this at SC2, lessons from the push. One is if you follow the program, you get results. If you don't follow the program, you don't get good results, right? If you try to make up a program that's been fixed and designed and, put together for 77 years, I highly doubt. In fact, I'll lay odds, I'll pay money, I'll bet money. There's no way you're going to figure it out better than Cutco's figured it out, right? So if you follow the program, the results flow. If you don't, they struggle, right? If you follow your manager's guidance, right? Whether it's phone time, whether it's selling, whether it's recommendations, whether it's time management, whatever it is, again, false word. It's not really, it's self-management, right? You manage your own self through the time that you're given, right? But learning those things and working with your manager, you get better results in life, in the business, right? In particular, right? Many small and simple decisions, getting up on time, coming to Champs Club, calling your manager, reading the manual, right? Those types of decisions extended out over a period of months create the massive results, create the massive sales. Now, if you're doing 3 demos a week, you're not growing at a very fast pace, are you? If you're doing no demos, you're not really growing. But when you get out there, like during the push, and you did 15 to 30 demos a week for 2.5 weeks, that's when you sell 18 grand. Okay, speaking of that, real quick. Okay. So, massive, success comes from continuing to use what you learn, but doing it more frequently. I muted myself again on accident. Okay. And by the way, the key thing that I wanted to share with you right here, guys, it's the same thing when you're a manager. Let me rewind and say managers that follow the program get tremendous results. Managers that don't follow the program stink. When managers talk to their managers, they get better results. Patrick and I just had a PC right before this meeting. I'm talking to one of our other managers later today, right? And our managers in training are, I'm talking and doing leadership academy interviews. The people that get involved with their district and division managers the most, they obviously climb the ladder and have the best results and success the most, right? Many small and simple decisions that you make as a manager or manager in training between now and May, that's where the success is found. The fight is always won long before you dance under the lights and stand in front of the crowds, right? This fight's won in the behind the scenes, so to speak, right? So your second summer is even more growth. And I will say, from a sense of selling at 30, 40%, Ember, selling at 30, 40, 50% next summer as an assistant manager, Jacqueline, Chloe, Saul, unless you're running an office next summer, we want you here as a branch or district manager. But if you're not here as a branch or district manager this summer, then guess what? You're going to be someone who's going to have massive growth in the sales rep category and as also as an assistant manager, potentially working shows like Tim has worked this summer at county fairs, state fairs, home shows, and farmers markets and things like that. You get to sell at a high level at the booth, as well as service calls and doing demos. Seeing all the people you just sold to this summer and sharpening their knives a year from now, they want to buy more Cutco from you every time. I'm telling you, it's easy. It's so easy, right? And then also in management, as a branch, as a district manager, does anyone think you're gonna grow less when you're a leader or more when you're a leader? Right? Your leaders in any in the military, in school, in church, and anything on the football team, they grow more than the team does collectively as well. So leadership has its benefits for hyper growth. Whatever you've grown or you feel like you've grown this summer, imagine being a leader, and you guys know when you teach, you learn. Right? Who's ever given a talk in church or taught a lesson? You're like, I needed that lesson more than anybody in the room, and I got way more out of it than those guys did, or those people, right? And remember, this isn't just a summer job. Some of you got started in the summer, but I want to remind you, this is a year-round job. I actually sold as much, maybe more Cutco during the school year than I did during the summer because I had a more rigid schedule. It was actually sometimes the best thing for students is to actually be busier. They're more successful when they have more things to do, okay? Because they're being forced to do things, right? When they're at the time they're supposed to. Okay, so hyper growth next summer. To be an authentic leader, you got to grow, and you've grown a lot this summer, and you have to grow both how you see yourself and how you see others. So jot that down. Leaders, right? They say the leader, the people find the leader and then the dream, but the leader finds the dream and then the people, right? The leader has the vision, that's why they're a leader, and they bring people along with them. And sometimes you're bringing people along that they have their own challenges, how they see themselves, right? And so the leadership that you can exhibit for your people that never thought they could sell anything. How many of you guys have already had that experience where you like told someone they could sell and they did, and you're like, ah, sweet, right? You've already had that experience and you're not even, or you believed it, you started to believe it for yourself. And you're like, dang, he wasn't kidding. Patrick or Phil or Shay or Kenzie, they're like, man, she wasn't kidding at all. I could do this. That is pretty cool, right? You have to change how you see yourself. Instead of being now so far up until this point, just the rep, the newbie, the lead, the rep, the follower, if you will, what would it feel like and how would you grow if you were the person that there was being followed? How would that benefit them, but how would that benefit you? And I think sometimes it's easier. That's why management is so fun in our business, is because you get to be accountable to people who are looking uh to follow you. They're looking to follow you. And that's a pretty cool role. Again, teachers are fulfilled by that, right? CEOs are actually fulfilled by that. CEOs make enough money before they're CEO. They don't need to be CEO. They become CEO because they want to be depended upon. Generals don't get promoted to be a general because they want to follow everybody. They want to be depended upon, right? And captains and majors and colonels, they want to be depended upon. Okay. It's a noble cause, isn't it? But what would it take for you to be in that role, Ember? What would it take for you to be in that role, Tyler? From where you are currently, think about it. What would it take for you to do to be in a role where you could be respected, followed, the leader and that type of thing? What would be one or two things that you could say, maybe I presently struggle with this? I would write it down. Remember the conversation with Avery and Kyle at the conference? He's like, well, I suck at this. And Kyle's like, well, the first thing you should do is change that language, right? And so, what's the thing you presently struggle with that you could learn to do better in the next 6 to 10 months and be running an office, being a leader as an assistant branch or district manager next summer? Who would you need to become? What type of position, not just position, but what type of person do you aspire to be in a year's time? And maybe for the rest of your life, what type of person do you aspire to be? What better time than now? Right? And that's really why Leadership Academy is so great, right? It's when you train to be a branch manager, when you train to be a district manager, when you write your letter of commitment, when you save the money and you sell enough and you put the money away and you sacrifice sometimes some friends time, or you sacrifice some scrolling time, or you sacrifice some even sleep, when you sacrifice certain things for the good of your future and the good of the people you're going to benefit next summer, that's a noble cause, right? That can get you out of bed, because next year, next summer could be, it's about 100 days. It's 3 months and change, if you will. Depends on when finals get out and when you go back to school or when you go on your mission. We got Parker here is planning going on a mission before the summer's over next summer. What would it feel like to be a leader next summer? And at the highest capacity, meaning you don't want to train for the bronze medal. You go to the Olympics, no one's thinking, man, I want to get the bronze, right? Of course they want a medal, and they're saying that, but if they had the opportunity, are they going to take the gold medal if they have the ability to win? Or are they going to pull up? They're not going to pull up. They're going to go all the way, right? And so I'll tell you, you want to train. So side note, it's not in my screen, in my slides, but I would put down, train for the gold medal. Next summer, train as if you're a leader in a town of like you're in charge of all Cutco operations in XYZ town, whether it's Springfield, Missouri, Las Vegas, Nevada, Twin Falls, Idaho, Tremonton, Layton, Ogden, Park City, Tooele, Salt Lake East, West. Could it be Central or Southern Utah? Could it be Rock Springs, Wyoming? Could it be Jackson Hole, Wyoming? What an awesome place to go. Like, and could it be Casper, Wyoming? What type of opportunities could you have? Okay. Next year. The idea, and you saw this, I'm going to go through it super fast, right? You saw that as the demo rep, that's where everyone here is, at least. All of you have a rep number. You have just growth there, right? Most of you have not been trained on service calls. Some of you got trained on events and selling Cutco at booths this last Friday, right? You got trained a couple days ago. And then, gift consultant and business gifting. And then again, assistant manager. The whole idea this whole time is that when you are advancing, you're putting yourself into a position of what? Choice. It's right on the screen, right? But if you're the type of person that can be that leader, then why the heck wouldn't Patrick be saying, dude, you're my sales manager, right? We need you, Tyler. I need you to step up, because next summer we need the best sales manager in the entire division for us to do $500,000 in the summer. What we might do possibly maybe in 12 months in 2026, we want to do that much in the summer of 2027. Well, there needs to be a better sales manager than next year than there was this year. And CJ's still was brand new when he started as a sales manager. So Tyler, you got to be way better than CJ. Okay. All right. I'm just making an example. Tyler can run a branch next summer, which, by the way, that is like, to me, if you're going to school in the fall, raise your hand if you're going to school in the fall, then the number one opportunity for you would be branch manager. Just para que sepan. Just so you guys know, that would be the number one highest level of leader you could be this next summer, is where you run an office for 100 days. And again, your friends are mowing lawns, they're FSY counselors, they're janitors, they're stacking shelves, flipping burgers, and you're a business owner, so to speak, for the summer. You're in charge of a town, you're in charge of a team, you recruit, you train, you develop representatives, and that's the A plus, like the gold medal standard, right? Anything below that is not a B or a D or an F. It's just we're going to find the right role for you, no matter if it winds up being sales manager, or if it winds up being assistant manager. But here's what you do. Side note, I already told you to write this down, right? Train for the gold. Train for the gold. So if you are going to school this next fall, a year from now, then you should think branch manager is my highest level that I'm training towards. Because then if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, money, time, you're getting married, you're going on a mission, well, then we might dial it back and say you're going to be in one of these roles. That's great. You can make money in all of them, right? Now, if you're not going to school in December and August of 27, if you're not going to school August of 27, your number one opportunity, if you don't know this, unless you've already run a branch like Anthony, then that would be either pilot sales manager or district manager. District manager is the highest level you would get to, right? If you're not going back to school August a year from now. If you're not going back to school September, August, September of 27. And that's the year-round opportunity, the management opportunity. Then there's your next year of management. So this is where Patrick will be. And then there's me. And then there's the region manager. And we go over all this because remember, not only are all of these things in TLA so important on the left-hand side of the screen, because from there, obviously branches can become districts. Branches can become veteran branch managers because they're going back to school again. District managers can become veteran district managers. Veteran district managers statistically make way more money than brand new district managers. Gee, I wonder why, right? No surprises there. But also, remember, all of our TLA roles can roll back into the reps in our company that are making six figures back again in the sales category because they go through the TLA, the Leadership Academy, they go through all of these things and then can become the highest level sales reps, all of whom are six-figure opportunity earners. Right? All of these reps over here many of them are making well over six figures, 200, 300, $400,000 income, not sales, income. And then there are managers in our company that are making two and three and 400,000 as district managers. And then as division managers, it's even more exciting. There's a turbo package on the payload. I don't hate my job, right? I don't mind my direct deposits, right? And I worked really hard to get to where I'm at, and I learned a lot of leadership concepts by teaching Leadership Academy, right? So, what is new office success, and what does it look like to run an office? Some of you weren't at the conference this weekend. There's like 3 of you or 4 of you that are here that weren't at the conference. What did we talk about in one of my messages, right? That there's 5 parts of running an office. Right, Chloe? The first thing, and Chloe's already done some of this. Half of the things that I'm talking about, some of you have already done, right? Driving touches, what is that? Putting the word out that we have jobs. And Chloe's put the word out. She's posted on Instagram. She's done some texting of her friends and letting them know there's job opportunities and that type of thing. And so Chloe's done some of that. And from there, the thing that, in this case, I'll use Chloe as the example. She has not scheduled those people for interviews, although Kenzie and Shay and Emily and Patrick could all be like, yeah, Chloe could do this, no problem. She could learn how to schedule people for an interview. Chloe, I think you bet you could learn how to schedule someone for an interview, right? And then you run interviews, which we just did our first interview workshop this morning at 9:30 a.m., right? Those of you that were on Champs Club, most of you stayed after, some of you didn't, and that's okay. We didn't invite you necessarily. If you're interested, we teach you how to run the interviews, right? That's part of TLA, teaching you how to run interviews where you explain the job. How many guys, if I sat you down at In-N-Out Burgers and said, hey, why don't you tell someone about the job? How many of you guys feel like you could tell someone casually about the job or even professionally? You could even do it in a professional way. Okay. Probably what you want to do in an interview. Okay. But you could explain the job and make them feel like that'd be worth my time to check out. And then the next thing, number 4, is you run training. You run training. You run a 3-day training seminar where you teach people how to read a manual. Oh, does that sound familiar? So as a manager, you read your manual to teach reps how to read their manual. And they follow the manual because you followed the manual. You taught them how to do it effectively, so they do it effectively, and then they go out and sell Cutco. And then after they've launched from training, you just continue to work with your reps. You field train them. You do PDI. You guys know some of these acronyms now. You do PCs, personal consultations, right? Personal coaching. And you get them to the team meeting, right? The weekly team meeting. And the longer you keep reps in the system, look at me, guys, you get a person interested in the job, you get them interested in the interview, you get them interested in training, you run the training, you get them interested in being successful and making a lot of money this summer 2027. That the longer you keep people in this system, the more Cutco is sold. And that is management in our company. There's really not much more to it. Like we get an office space and you have an internet connection, you got to order some fast art prizes. Like you run some, you got to remember to bring the bananas to the Breakfast of Champions meeting, right? But that's about it, right? That's how you run an office. And we have a syllabus. If you guys can see 6 things on the screen, give me 6 fingers, okay? And what you see is 4 of the 5 things I just shared. Look at this. Create touches, so expose a lot of people to the Cutco job that's out there. And there's a lot of ways to do that. We go over that next 9 months. And then we schedule people for interviews, which is kind of in the create touches right now. Okay. And also in the work ethic part of it. Okay. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then you run a great interview, which there's a script for. There's a slideshow. We went over this morning at 9:30 a.m. We role play the interview. We learn the interview. We watch the interview in Olean, New York, in the factory and in the St. Bonaventure's College University. We have a conference on Saturday on the 19th of September, and we literally role play the interview with someone from Minnesota. Like you guys will role play. Whoever goes to Olean, you'll have that opportunity to learn the interview. And then you learn training in December and January and through April. You learn training. And then you work with your reps in their Fast Start program and in general, keep them selling Cutco beyond their Fast Start. Does everyone kind of understand that? Those are the 3, or kind of broken into the 5 things I just told you are basically these 4 things on the syllabus. And then there's 2 massive things. If you guys can see behind my left shoulder here on the screen, you watch this thing for the entirety of training, that poster. And what are the 2 keys to Vector? A great attitude, which is down here at the bottom, social and emotional intelligence, being a good coach. That's the attitude of a leader. You got like being a rep is the attitude of, whatever, right? But for a manager, it's essentially you have the right leadership mentality, right? To be a coach for reps. And then you have a great work ethic, right? On the way there, you sell, you plan, you have daily outcomes, right? You work hard during the win a trip to Mexico contest that we have in December and January. Like this is all a syllabus, and it's a 2-semester class. But it's just, you want to treat Leadership Academy as like an extra 1 credit class. So write that down. Leadership Academy, management training. It's like a 1 credit class. And I'm going to even share with you guys, so I don't forget to do it later. I'm going to share with you a text I got from our region manager, and I loved it. And I was like, I better just share that. Okay. So here's what he said. There's like level 1. This is good for Kenzie and Kenzie and Shay and Patrick. Can you hear me, Patrick? Can you write down these 4 things in the chat box? Write down these 4 things in the chat box. So level 1 of TLA, like this syllabus, is treated like a weekly class. So it's like an hour, maybe 2 a week. I'm going to go to a meeting in my office. I'm going to come to a Zoom meeting once or twice a week. And then monthly, there's a Leadership Academy, function once a month. So it's weekly in your office level and then monthly as a division. So that's level 1 of Leadership Academy. I'm talking to Isaac, I'm talking to Tim, who've done Leadership Academy before, talking to Kenzie and Jens, and some of the leaders, Saul has done leadership to a certain degree before today, right? Level 2, right, is to add selling to that. Like you want to sell on a weekly basis, selling $500 to $1,000 a week, right? The Cutco job is, and to sell $1,000 is like 3 orders. You guys know that. So it's like 5 demos a week, right? So it's a demo a day, whatever you want to call it, work half a Saturday or whatever it is, okay? Level 3 of Leadership Academy is add to those two things running interviews and actually getting paid to be an assistant manager. Notice step one and step two are just like I'm auditing a class almost, right? I go a couple hours a week, whatever, I audit a class. And then I add selling. So you make money from selling. That's step two or level two. Level three is you add the dual income factor of being an assistant manager where you're running an office with your manager and you're running interviews. And then it's so funny when someone takes a sideways photo, I have to like not turn my phone. And then number four is where you, before even December, might be in charge of an actual training seminar where you'll actually like, okay, I'm going to study training enough that I actually could run an office by December. Our old region manager before Mike, and Mike's been the region manager for a long time, but my original region manager, he used to say, you have 8 months to learn how to run an office in 4 months. You have 8 months to learn how to run an office by December. But if we put you into a level in like October, let's say you get officially promoted to assistant manager, then you have till February, 4 months. Learn how to run an office in 4 months, even though there's 8 months time to do it, right? If we promote you to assistant manager in December, then you have till March to be able to run an office. And the sooner you can get to a point where you're like, huh, I actually could do those 5 things. I could create touches. I could get people into interviews. I could run effective interviews, run effective training, and I could coach my reps. You might feel like you could do that right now, the way I've explained it today, right? But if you could feel like you have all the ins and outs of those things, if you have the ability to do it in 4 months and you work like you're going to learn that, that's level four, right? You work like you're going to be doing that. I'm going to tell you your confidence level and competence, right? Confidence and competence will be at an amazing level well before you open your office. Well before you open your office. Does that mean everyone in this meeting is going to run an office? No way. Write it down. I'm going to say it later, but I'm going to say it now. No decisions yet. None of you should be thinking you are 100% committed unless you've been in TLA already, right? You've already done it before. If you're like, I've got Isaac, I've got Keegan, I've got Tim, they're always like, they're like, I'm writing my letter today. I'm committed all the way. And that's awesome. Jacob Jensen from the Salt, from the technically, I guess he's from Idaho Falls. No, he's from Boise. He wrote his letter of commitment and he turned it in at the conference. Didn't tell me. I was like, "What the heck, dude?" Okay, but he turned it into to Hanson, who turned it into Kyle, and that's great. But Jacob turned in a letter of commitment, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, so leadership in 26, 27. Today is not what makes you a leader. Today is sitting here in front of my face or on Zoom and learning about what is the opportunity. Today is a component to your training. Training really happens when you're participating in your office success for the next 8 months, right? Once again, it's about an hour or two a week. You're on a leadership academy call or leadership, meeting with your manager once a week-ish, maybe twice, right? A couple hours, and then a monthly leadership divisional meeting. And I gave you the calendar for those at the conference this weekend, right? And we're going to coach you along the way. What needs to happen? What needs to be learned? What needs to be done? What do right? Again, some of you are like, Phil, you just told me this on Friday or Saturday, at the conference. But just to review, Leadership Academy, and again, there it is. No decisions yet, right? So don't say, oh, I'm only going to be an assistant, or I'm only going to do this. I'm going to cut my, I'm going to put the jar on top of the jar of fleas. They put the jar on and the fleas wouldn't escape, and they took the lid off and 0 fleas escaped because they self-imposed their own limit, right? They're like, okay, we can't go any higher than that. And so they didn't break through any barriers, even though there was no barriers, right? So don't be that person that limits your belief on what you could achieve by next summer. And again, this meeting is meant to be like an inspiration without being inspiring. I'm not trying to like motivate you in this meeting today. I'm just trying to inform you in this meeting today. But it's meant to be a catalyst of knowledge. So now you know what to do if it's something you'd like to do, right? What you do in the next 6 to 8 months will tell you and tell us, and essentially tell the reps from next summer what type of leader you want to be by next summer, right? And where you want to be for your future. Okay. Again, some of you want to be doctors, lawyers, teachers, dentists, business owners, run your own business. You want to, start making 6 figures a year. Well, this is an opportunity. Leadership Academy is the place where our representatives learn how to do that, all of us. And there will be a spot, right? Train for the gold medal. So whether that's branch or district this next summer, again, if you're not going to school in September, of 27, you would be the gold medal would be the district manager opportunity for you. But if you're going back to school September, August of 27, then branch manager is the gold medal for you. There's really no assistant manager. I'll say this later too, but there's no assistant manager training, period. End of story. Because what do assistant managers do? They do everything that district and branch managers do. They're just not in charge. They get to be influencers and they get to be leaders in the office, but they're not the man or the woman. They are subordinate to the district or branch manager, but you train as if it's going to be you, and then if it winds up not being you, you're still going to be him or her at the leadership level of assistant manager or something by next summer. The more you train as if, that's a way to write it down. Train as if, gold medal. Train as if I'm branching your district. The more you train as if, the more of a great assistant manager you're going to be, the better of a sales manager you're going to be, the better of a division office manager you're going to be. You're going to train as if you're going out as a district next May, right? But everyone will have a spot if you want one. And your actions and your conversations with me and with your district or branch manager, those will be the things that will tell us that you want it. Okay? But we'll have a spot for you. There's territories beyond territories. Guys, I put managers in Boston. Forget the stuff on the screen. I put managers in Oregon, Washington. Besides what's on the screen, I put managers in all of those towns. But besides that, I put managers in LA. I put them in Hawaii, New Mexico. I put managers in Iowa, Massachusetts, Chicago, beyond what you see on the screen. And there's ample territories everywhere in America, and territories as well. Okay, Virgin Islands, what is it? Not past Hawaii, Guam, right? Besides Guam, like there's opportunities in Puerto Rico. It could be anywhere. Okay, something you can write down is commitment account. You ever hear of the stories of Kobe, who copied off of Michael Jordan, by the way? But he's in the gym at 4 a.m. and the guy shows up to work with him and he's already sweaty and he's already like finished with the workout that he had on his own before the dude shows up to work out with Kobe. Kobe's already had a workout. You guys understand my point? Kobe had an unbelievably deep commitment account. Unbelievably, his drive was second to only Michael Jordan. Okay. And I'm telling you, it's because he had a better vision for himself than maybe Phil Jackson or any other coach had for him. And so the commitment account is why our managers in the central region double the national average. The national branch manager average, I'll use the branch manager example, is around $40,000-$45,000. Our branch manager average is 70 some odd thousand, almost 80 grand in central region. I've produced dozens and dozens of branch managers that did 100, 150 grand. And I've produced well over 15 top 20 branch managers that did over 200 grand in the summer. What's the national average? Less than 50,000. The reason why our managers do better is because of what you see on the screen. I said the quote earlier, right? It was because of the preparation before they went out as managers, or Muhammad Ali before he went into the ring. He was well more prepared than anybody else. He knew exactly how to fight every fight because he studied and he studied and he studied. Notice it's studying, it's not just pumping iron and punching things. He studied the opponent, he studied film, he studied his own body, he studied his own abilities, right? And when you do that as a manager in the next 8 months, you will be in a place where your success is not only possible, right? And it's not only probable, the next level is what? It's inevitable. Your success is inevitable when you've learned the work ethic and the preparation over the 8 months that you get rewarded publicly for what you practice in private, right? Muhammad Ali, you get rewarded publicly for what you practice in private. And that's awesome. So the commitment account, does everyone kind of get what I'm getting at? It's not a bank account, but you do want to make frequent deposits. So the people that scroll less, study the interview more. The people that, play a little less and sacrifice some time with friends because they committed to study training 2 hours a week. They said they would script the interview. Christopher Pagels, he had a 60% show to training, 63% show to training for a summer as a branch manager, because every single month he handed me a handwritten copy stapled together with like pink freaking pen. Like he gave me like blue and yellow and whatever green and whatever. He like write out the pay was one color, the perks were another color. He wrote out the interview once a month by hand, 15 pages script. He wrote out the interview 15 or 8 times and handed it to me. And then during the summer, he handed me another copy. So he wrote out the interview word for word, like 8, 9 times over the course of the 6 to 10 to 12 months, and he did 60% show to training. So he kept people in that system from creating touches to into the interview, into training, and launch from training. He was the most efficient branch manager I'd ever trained at that point. It was in St. George, Utah. He did $175,000 and brought his mom to Spain, Prague. They did a trip to Spain on the way to Prague, Czech Republic. Okay. Because the company trip was in Prague. Company trip was in Prague, Czech Republic. And so they did a quick, 4 days in Spain or 5 days in Spain before they even came to Prague. How many guys feel like that's a pretty awesome, experience as a 20-year-old kid? Yeah. He was prepared. So the thing about branching, and again, district managers just means you're staying open, you're not going back to school. So it's a new manager, right? The one thing you can write down is that new office success is a program, in case you didn't see that syllabus earlier. It is not an experiment. It's not like, gee, I wonder if I could, somehow convince Matt to, learn this thing called training. Like we've figured it out for years, right? So it is a program. There is no like guessing what should we teach you, which is crazy. Because when you run a branch, you're in business by yourself, but not, I'm sorry, you're in business for yourself, but not by yourself. That's the key. Is when you're branching, you have a division manager, me, a region manager, Mike Muriel. You have your own district manager. If it's not me, Patrick, Shay, Kenzie, or Shay, or what's his name? Jesse, that guy. Okay. So it is a program. And then I'll say, you're a lion. What I mean by that is, what is the only thing lions know how to do? There's 3 things that they do. What do? They sleep, they eat, and they make more lions. Okay, they literally mate. Okay, that's the only 3 things that lions have to do. When you're a branch, you get to have, in the same sense, that's all you need to, that's all you care about is like, I'm going on I'm branching. It's like I'm going on a mission. I'm going on a 3-month, 100-day mission, right? Whatever it is. And I'm going to recruit people and train them and develop them. I'm going to recruit people. I'm going to train them. I'm going to develop them. I'm going to recruit people. I'm going to train them. I'm going to develop them. I don't have to worry about anything else. You might move to a different state. You might move to a different part of the country for 100 days. People do that in the Peace Corps. People do that in Guatemala, right? And they eat mushrooms and do whatever. Like, it doesn't really matter how or what. But the fact is, you're going on an adventure. And it's really freaking fun. And you get this crazy experience, and then you go back to school. Again, if you're a branch. If you're a district, it's just more money and more time and, year-round business, right? You guys know that, like, the stores, they make money all year, and then they have Black Friday and Christmas sales, right? So it's like, the branching is like the Christmas sales. It's the short-lived, high-end, good profit, blah, blah, blah. But the other 10 months of the year, they're doing pretty well too, right? And so district managers, it's a year-round opportunity. There's higher amounts of income all year, especially in our division. We have the highest non-summer results in the company. Okay. Our office is probably the historical best office in the history of the company in the non-summer, Salt Lake City specifically. And all of your district managers started in this office, right? And so they know how to do it. And district managers remain open and have higher or a larger number of, streams of income. There's actually multiple streams of income when you're a district manager that aren't the same for branches, right? Because they're more of a year-round thing. So let's quickly hit the pay on the head here. When you're a branch manager, as the reps are going up, how many of you guys remember you started at 10, you went to 15, you made 20, then 25 and up and beyond, right? Mm-hmm. So that's your scale. As managers run an office, they spend 9 months preparing. You spent 3 days in training. Who worked harder, the rep or the manager? Manager worked way harder. So on the initial margin, managers make more. And as the rep keeps getting more money, the manager on the margin makes a little less. Because it's not so hard to train the rep, because it's like the rep is potty trained now, and now they can sell more Kako. The manager doesn't necessarily, while they do influence you all summer, they did the work, they got paid. And typically the revenue, you should write down 2 things, guys. Write down revenue percentage and profit percentage. Write down revenue percentage and profit percentage. The revenue percentage for most branch managers nowadays, CJ, is somewhere around 20 to 23, 22%. Meaning if their office sells 10 grand, the manager makes like 2 grand. You all understand that? 20% roughly, right? So somewhere in that range when and it's based on whether, rent is higher or lower, whether their internet is more or less money, how much fast start stuff they're buying, base pay, and there's some expenses, right? But do they commute and have to drive more, whatever it is, right? And so their revenue is about 20 some percent. And then the profit percentage is not on the screen here, but write it down. The profit percent for most branches is somewhere between 10 to 15%. 10 to 15%, meaning after you subtract expenses, if the branch sells 10 grand, the office, then the manager will make around a grand. Okay. If that makes sense, that's the lower number, right? 10, 12, 13%. So they might profit 13%. Their revenue might be 2 grand. Their profit is around 1,300 because there's an expense level there, right? Does everyone kind of get the idea? A couple other things when the company contributes to your startup, they give you 6 grand and it's essentially paid out over the summer. We don't just hand you 6 grand and you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid with 6 grand in your pocket. You're going to go to freaking Vegas. You're going to do something stupid. So they don't just let you have the money. We as a division, I'm the division manager. So I kind of like bankroll that and make sure people aren't doing dumb stuff with it and buying a 70-inch TV and whatever, right? Okay. And then the company gives money towards advertisement to find representatives, right? Mailers, how many got a letter in the mail maybe, or someone got a letter in the mail. So that's that money. And then when you're a branch, you make 35% of your personal sales for May and June.
You sure about that?
They cut your pay on purpose because they want you to focus for 2 months full on building your team. Okay. Yeah. And then in July, August, September, you make straight 50.
And
It's even
Phil,
better than regular
can I
50.
just mention this for Tim, since you're in bonus land? That 35 is not, there's no bonus check. That's every week.
Straight 35.
So,
And
yeah,
then
35 flat.
thank you, Holy Ghost. Awesome. And then 50% is for July, August, September, 13 weeks. 13 weeks of a 52 year. It's exactly a quarter of a year. It's crazy. It's awesome. And then usually there's 2 contests. There's the kicker where you can win your office, qualify for the company trip to Rome this year, the cruise last year before that was Budapest, right? And so, you can win the trip by your office sales, but you can also win the trip from personal sales. And about 13 out of 15 years, the last 15 years, 13 of those 15 years, we had a kicker. The kicker was like, no matter what your office sold, 2 grand, 20 grand, 200 grand, you could still win the kicker contest and still win based on your sales personally. It's usually August, September. This year they did July, August, September for branch managers selling at 50%. Not only do they get to make 50%, their office could have done well or not as well, and they still can win the trip to Rome. It's pretty crazy. Okay. And that's kind of the basis of the branch manager pay. Okay. This is what the company contributes, and this is what our reps make, branch managers make on their personal sales. And this is kind of how they make money on the office sales. Okay. Now, I want to continue and say that in 2020, this is just a screenshot of a letter, but basically in 2020, we had 207 branch managers across the company that were a part of this program where all of our branch managers do this, but they measure their profit and their loss, and they learn this experience, which is a business skill of running, in and outgoing money. You guys understand these are things that are important in business. And we have a record that, 70, percent, 76% of the branch managers of the 200 managers, 70 some percent, almost 70%, 68%, made at least profit of 5 grand. 45% made over 10 grand. 30% of them made 15 grand, and 1/8, so 12.5% of the branch managers from that summer profited over 25 grand. So, what's possible is some pretty positive stuff, right? That's a lot better than bagging groceries, right? I'll say, right? Or even mowing lawns. District managers, it's just a little bit higher income. It's actually significantly higher because it's a year-round business. They get more money when they open an office. They still get the same 6 grand in the summer, and then they get another 9 grand paid to them over the year, and they get some extra money for mailers, and they get a little bit more money when they launch a lot of reps that sell. When they launch more reps that sell at least $50. When the rep sells at least $50, the manager gets $50. It's kind of crazy in a cool way, right? Because that's meant to like pay for rope and leather and other supplies that district managers might spend a little bit more on their, business. And this stuff right here is the same as branches. This stuff's about the same as branches. And then there's additional, once managers have been around for a little while, our managers get an extra grand a month. So 12 months, 12 grand. They get an extra grand a month. They get bonuses like BMW and Tesla money. How many of you guys like that idea, right? Having a lot of our district managers are 22, 23 years old and they're making, they get to drive around a Tesla or BMW. There's other awards, like our awards, income based on when customers order online, campaign bonuses up to $10,000 campaign bonuses 3 times a year. Super bonus now that's not every 3 years, it's every year, excuse me. Patrick, will you make me fix slide 26 on super bonus? Send me a message to fix slide 26. Okay. This
Alrighty,
is,
what?
thank you. District managers, by the way, this is what they do in 8 months. This is what they do their next year. This is what they do their next year, their next year, their next year on average. And this is a decade's worth of data. Do you guys see that? 12 years worth of data, the 2012 through 2023. So this is pretty good, sampling of what managers do in business. In other words, what's happening to their income every year. Their income is just growing every year. Okay. Here's the super bonus program that I just was having Patrick tell me to fix on my slide. We have a new super bonus where every year, once every year, every district manager gets an extra 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, 30. Last year, I got 40. Jesse got 25. Bucky got 20. And we had a silver cup manager. Our office was silver cup. So this was a fun bonus. You guys think that'd be pretty cool? First, second week of January, you get this fatty boom batty, right? No one's hit the million, but last year was the first year of it. They hit it in 1 year. In other words, 1 year, okay, to do that much new business. It's based on new business, by the way. Okay, this I'm going to go on and move on. Now, remember, we have our CSP and events reps, and those people make really good money too. So when you go through TLA, you learn to run a business. Guess how our events reps and our CSPs, Quentin Israelson sells $500,000 a year, makes 200 plus $1,000 a year. It's because he branched. It's because he took the opportunity, right? And went through Leadership Academy, right? So that all being said, I got 8 minutes. I got to keep rolling here. Okay. So now take out your pens. And if that was a lot of information, if you think that was like heavy, like, whoa, we're already 8 minutes from being done. Yeah. That's a lot of stuff. And so don't worry if you can't remember anything, literally anything, because we can go through this with you again. We have a full in-hand handout, like a document, like a booklet that we will give you. It's a branch manager in training book and or a district manager in training book. But here are the things that if I'm you, what I would want to do from here. Okay, y'all with me? So what now? First of all, welcome to the meeting. We're here. We already covered this. This is happening today. Okay, so good job being here. Okay, next thing is preparation. So a lot of things have to do with preparation. So I'd write down elements of preparation. And boy, oh boy, those of you that missed the conference on Friday and Saturday, I wish you would have been there. But the good news is you're in this meeting today. And so we're excited to take it to another level. It happens through your preparation over the next 4 to 8 months. It actually happens because you grow. It actually happens because you and your managers lock arms and succeed together. Okay. And remember, no decisions are made yet. So don't feel pressure as to what you are capable or not capable of doing. Because you wouldn't be here if we didn't think you could do it. Okay. And what is it that we're really looking for? I gave you guys this slide. I encourage you to take a photo or a screenshot of this slide once I get it all up on the screen. We're looking for people, the people that will advance in our company, the people that will build the Intermountain Division, of 2027, the best results that we'll have in the company, right, that we've ever had is people that have integrity and follow through when they do what they say they're going to do. And many of you have already exhibited that in the push. Even if your push sales number result wasn't what you wanted it to be, did you learn in the process? Did you do what you say you were going to do? I was talking to Elise the other day. I think she's really awesome at doing what she said she's going to do. Sales consistency. Remember, it's not sell 5 grand for the push and then sell nothing for a month. We need you guys selling Cutco weekly. And let me make sure that you understand you need you selling Cutco weekly. Am I right? Are you guys just satisfied with what you've made in our company so far? You don't need any more money. Okay. I'm guessing you want more money. And you want to improve on your sales. It's not just that you sold something at some point, but it's like you get better and better at selling sets, get better at selling period, doing more demos, right? Push period effort. We have SLC and Olean push starting soon. SLC is leadership, a strategic leadership conference. You guys see a whole round of trophies on top of those cabinets right there, a whole bunch of trophies behind by the hunting knives here. Guys, SLC is the #1 conference of the year because it's the only conference of the year where the entire SC2 is #1 for the summer. And there's a SC2 happening right now in Chicago right now, right? But the SC2 that we had, #1 conference of the summer, but the #1 conference of the whole company for the whole year is SLC, Strategic Leadership Conference. It's not just named after our office. Okay. And that push is awesome. And then we have the Olean push and the year-end banquet push in Chicago where you can win a trip to Mexico, assuming we go to Mexico. Okay, we usually go to Mexico. And then it's also saving money and helping your office grow. So, again, in 4 months, we want you to learn to run an effective office. And there's no such thing as assistant manager training. So while we have assistant managers, when you get promoted to be an assistant manager, you're really just training for the next level. It's like you make the pre-Olympic trials and then you go to the Olympics and you're training for what? The gold medal. Okay. And so assistant manager is the training role. Conference of Champions. You guys know Conference of Champions is 2 weeks from today. August 17th through the 18th. You guys want to pay attention to this side. None of you are in the Big Sky division, so don't worry about that one in Idaho. Where we have this one coming up. I believe it's going to be at the same hotel. I believe we'll be staying at the Embassy Suites again. But a lot of the meetings will happen in this room. We're going to be a little more grubby and coming off the Donut Falls hike and rappelling, and sometimes it's dirty. And so we'll have a lot of our meetings in this room. But the conference is going to be amazing. Remember, it's only $125. Get the Hardy slicer right there. Okay. It's $125 and you get your Hardy slicer. Pass it along. Okay. You get the last signature knife that you didn't get in your fast start, right? You get that $160, $180 knife. That alone is worth $125. Plus, it pays for a night hotel, 2 meals. It's going to be, and then we're going rappelling up Donut Falls. It's going to be an amazing event. So if you have not gotten signed up, you got to get signed up for CFC. And then, as you guys know, Leadership Academy, the Region Leadership Academy meeting is coming up in Olean, right? September 17th through the 20th. So CFC is on the 17th of August. Olean's on the 17th of September, right? So it's a Friday, obviously, Monday, because it's a.
When is the Olean push?
It's the 2 weeks. You'll find out. It's usually Thursday to Thursday. So it's a Thursday to Thursday push because we fly out on we get there on Thursday, or maybe it's Wednesday to Wednesday. So it's kind of interesting. But the minimum is you have to have this money in savings. I've had 3 people today tell me they're sending me more money today. They're Venmoing, sending money. So you can send this in, guys, to the company. We can have more withholdings. To be in a position of choice, I'm going to have you write down position of choice. We've already talked about it, right? You want to train for the gold medal, so you have the option to decide where you're going to land in your second summer. Are you going to land at the assistant manager role and be a scholarship winner next summer? Are you going to land at the branch manager role? Are you going to land at district manager, division office manager for that matter, right? We will be replacing division office managers because people are going on missions. People are, going to go out as district managers. The assistant and division office manager roles are training roles. They're not careers, right? Neither one of them, even branch manager, is not a career, right? So I'm going to hold off on this story for time's sake. And you want to be in the place where you have the ability to decide. One thing we're looking for is letters of commitment. Again, Jacob Jensen just turned in his letter of commitment. We have Keegan, we have Isaac, we have Tim that are writing that letter today. Okay. And so that's awesome where you write a letter. And the 3 things we look for in a letter of commitment, I'm going to say this because it's being recorded. We're looking for what's the position you're training for. In other words, what's the role you're going to land on? Is it district manager? Is it a branch manager? Right. And then secondly is why do you want that role, or why are you wanting to do that? What are the reasons why you want to grow as a person? You want to, affect the lives of young people. You want to train to be a Silver Cup manager. You want to train to be a manager who gets a trip to Spain and you bring your mom to Spain or whatever it is. and then what are you going to do? So it's what's the position? Why do you want that role? What have you learned, and why are you wanting to go further? And then lastly, what are the steps you're going to take to prepare? It does not need to be long and involved. It's not even a page. It's a paragraph. It's simple. It's something that's tangible. You hand to me. You can email it to me as well. You can take a photo of it and send me a picture of it. Okay. And then hand it to me in person the next time we see each other. We want that letter of commitment that you're training for that role. Startup. Startup, guys. That's your own personal savings. Check this out. This is the last data I have right here. Is right now currently Isaac Dunlap has $6,000 of his own money in savings. Anthony's got 5,000 plus dollars. Tim Rich at 3,500. CJ's at 2,400. Parker's at 21. Kenzie at 2. Gwyneth is at 2. Kana's at 2. Emily's at 1,900 basically. Yvette's at 1,300. Parker. We have Carson Cheney's Venmoing me $500 today to send in. He's Venmoing Vector $500 today. So he'll be at, $700, $800. Some of you just started your savings, which is great. Here's what just happened in sales this week. The people that have arrows next to their sales reports just had big sales weeks this week. They had some big sales weeks. So their sales, they're going up. Don't pay attention to where the arrow's pointing. It's just up. Okay. So they had $2,000 and $3,000 and $4,000 weeks. So this week alone, their withholdings are going to, in some cases, add $500. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Okay. And I've got a few more slides. One thing I want to remind you is we have $1,000 contest right now. $1,000, right? That if you sell a grand this week, you're in a drawing to win a grand. What is it? You sell a grand, you're in a drawing to win a grand. We had someone in our division win it after SE1, right? $500. That's crazy. His sales report was like $1,000, and he got an $800 check. That's like unheard of commission, right? 80% commission. Okay, it's better than drugs. Okay, so all right. Moving on, this is being recorded. Don't worry. Okay, so selling and saving. Does everyone understand the essential there? I want to say this. I didn't say it, so I'm going to say it. To branch, we want at least 5,000 that you save. Remember, the company gives you 8,500, but we want you to have absolute financial stability and absolute financial confidence. And so we want branches to have at least 5 grand saved. Hopefully by December. We like to decide territories earlier, before the end of the year, even though you don't run an office till April. So we want branches to have 5 and districts to have 10. Branches to have 5 grand saved, districts to have 10 grand saved. Okay. By the way, you can do much better for yourself. Patrick had $23,000 saved before he went out as a district. He had $12,000 saved before he went out as a branch. He had no problems with money. How many guys have no problems with money? So does it make sense that you want to save money anyway, right? So selling and saving. I want you to realize you always start with the gold medal in mind. You're going for the highest level. Don't worry about what we do from there and how it lines up happening. You just want to train like you're going for the gold, right? Get a Leadership Academy interview with me. I've got 2 of them scheduled today with I think it's CJ and CC, Carson Cheney. Okay, are the people I'm meeting with today. I could be off on that. I just might have forgotten. And then start participating in FIRE. Some of you guys have heard what FIRE is, and that means we need your help in building our team. And I'm going to go as fast as I can. And also that letter of commitment. That letter of commitment. Here are the dates. You should definitely take a photo of this. And one of the things you want to do is not just put this photo in your camera. You need to now convert the photo into your calendar. Like take these dates. Here's today. Here's the push. Huh? I'll move it. Okay. And I'll just do this. Okay. So there you have it. And so put these regional and divisional dates in the calendar, C of C, Olean, and then put these divisional dates. So here's the regional dates, here's the divisional dates, right? The September 11th, the 9th of October, the 30th of October, and then the 18th of November, and then what's up, Miley? And then December 21st. Okay. Again, we're running Champs Club, and then we're running interview training. If you're interested, if you haven't gotten approved or gotten invited to that, talk to your manager about being invited to our interview training extra workshop. It's 30 minutes right after Champs Club on Monday through Friday from now until the end of okay. Remember, there's going to be a weekly division leadership academy call, and then your local office meeting. Remember, that's the two hours a week roughly. participation. It's like level one, right? All right. I'm going to skip this slide for time's sake and say we're building, right? We have 5 offices this year. Do you think if we have 12 offices next year, we might sell some more Cutco? Think we might affect some more lives, right? And that's really what we're building for, right? We're building in each office to have vertical growth, more sales in every office, but have more offices, period, to be a nationally contending top 10 division in the company. Okay. Our Leadership Academy rankings. I have one more slide after this, two more. Okay. And that is here are the things I judge. Yes, we judge people. Okay. Here are the things we're looking at to see from you guys: personal sales, leadership or saving money. What's your interview as we get closer to like running offices? These are the things that will put you into the best rankings to get the best territory, to get the best role, to get the best promotion. You all with me on this, right? Learning how to run effective interviews, learning how to engage with the training seminar. I just had a couple of our managers, Tim's here, saying, when can I run a section of training, right? Because he wants to be up at this level. And then your own attendance, professionalism, being punctual, being on time, being, person of integrity, growth, your own personal advancing, meaning your growth spurts are bigger and better, right? You're growing 1 month to the next, right? And then in my evaluation, right, of that. And so, guys, as we grow to a top 10 division, we're looking to grow each of our individual leaders, which are the people on this call, as well as our districts and managers, right, in general, grow the number of people on the team, which is obviously recruiting the right people, and then grow the individual sales per person, right? The per rep results to grow our high end rep sales, and then to grow the number of people that are actually in leadership in our division. So thank you for being here. I really, really am impressed with the meeting today. Thank you for bearing with the lots of data, lots of information, and I'm looking forward to what we grow into in the next couple of weeks, and obviously before C of C, and then